Hey guys, how's it going today? We were out with the 22 BMW R9T Pure. We're going to be doing the pros and cons ride review in this bike. We got about 1,000 miles in this bike almost, maybe a little less. So enough time to get just your general thoughts about it. This isn't the long-term review, but this will be the pros and cons of what my experiences are riding it down Wildcat Mountain quite a few times and hitting back roads, doing a little bit of highway cruising, that kind of stuff. So we're going to go through the brakes, the suspension, the motor, the seat, all kinds of stuff, and talk about the ergos, things like that, the exhaust, all kinds of things we can go over in this bike. So it's going to be a good ride review. We're going to go hit some twisty back roads here and talk about it. So let's check out the stock Acra exhaust. This bike comes at first. We'll listen to it, and then we'll get out on the road. Pretty cool sounding exhaust, not super loud, but not bad for a stock exhaust. All right, let's get out there and talk about this 22 BMW R9T Pure. What a beautiful night we've got as well. Check it out. All right, see you guys out on the road. All right, guys, we're going to be hitting some of our favorite roads here on the 22 R9T Pure. It's a little chilly out tonight, getting towards fall. And I've got a cheat sheet here, you can see, because there's a lot of talk about this machine and I don't want to forget anything. So there might be some more things that come to mind as we're talking about it too. Alright, let's get it started here. Number one, the torque on this motor. So we'll talk about the motor first, as we normally do. And this has right on torque, right on tap, right off idle is what I mean to say. Really, right after you, let's see, there's no tach on this, but really early, right after you get off idle and you whack it, the power is just right there in this box this way. Just gobs of torque. Something like, what is it, 85 foot-pounds of torque or something like that on this. I'll put it below here, the specs. I think it's like 110, 115 horsepower and like 85 foot-pounds of torque, I think, if that's correct in memory. And yeah, so and the torque comes on really nice and early in this machine. It's never leaves you wanting, whereas if you run a little, like those, like ZX6Rs, things like that, like we had earlier in this channel, and the 600 Super Sports, it's got all the power at the top end. So, well, we'll talk about this not having much top end in the con section, but that's not what this was designed for, right? So it's basically the opposite of a 600 Super Sport, where you whack open a 600 Super Sport at the bottom to like below 6,000 RPM and there's like nobody home. At least not the 636 or 675 Daytona, a little different, but for a stock 600, there's just nobody home below 6. With this, all your juice is below 6. That's where the power really hits hard. It's great for pulling out of corners, being in second or third gear, and you can pull out of twisties and stuff and really have a good time with this. It's a really good road bike. As far as the motor is, when they say tractable, if you look up tractable in the dictionary, it's probably a boxer twin. Alright, so the next pro is excellent cruising manners. I think, even without the windscreen. So, and by cruising I mean highway, like 55, 60, stuff like that. It's pretty cool, it's nice. And even on really bumpy stuff like this, the suspension is non-adjustable. We'll talk about that later. The suspension absorbs these bumps pretty well, actually, on this broken up pavement here in the Midwest. And I mean, many people ride on broken up pavement. It's common across the U.S. and over Europe too in some areas. And yeah, we have stretches of brand new pavement here as well, and this behaves really, really nicely on, you know, corners wonderfully on the new stretches of pavement. But like this big bump here, not too bad. And the cruising manners, it's pretty comfortable. We'll talk about the ergos here too then, so we're kind of just doing 55 rated here, cruising up to the next twisty section. And yeah, it's pretty nice. Your feet are relatively relaxed. Your bars are actually a little further from you than you'd expect for this type of machine. It's almost, it's like an aggressive naked bike kind of seating position. It's not, you're not sitting really upright like dirt bike style, or maybe like MT-09 like we had in on the channel here, the XSR 900. You guys can check out that review too if you want to. We'll put a card and a link down below. So yeah, you're a little more aggressive. Roll on. Yeah, buddy. Got some, there's that torque we were talking about earlier. So yeah, the way, here's me sitting straight up, so I'm scooted as far forward as you can in the seat, and this is me sitting straight up. So you can sit straight up if you want to. You're basically straight up. I've got a little bit of a cant in my back, but I wouldn't normally ride like this. If you're getting it in the corners, or you know, trying to be a little more aggressive, you scoot your butt back just a little bit like this, and then you've got a bit of a cant. Now, of course, it's not like anything like a sport bike where you got your hands down here and they're clip-ons, you know, things like that. But you are going to be a little bit leaned over in this, just to be aware. If you haven't test rode one of these, you will be a bit leaned over, and even more so than the XSR 900 or the MT-07. I would say it's akin to like the Street Triples lean, but maybe even a little bit more than that. Alright, we were going to talk about handling next, but I'm going to wait till we get into the twisty section for that. So let's do the brakes here. This is a good straight road. There's no one behind me. So we'll go up to 60 like we normally do, and then we will get on the brakes. This has ABS as well, of course. Okay, that was about, that's a pretty good, pretty aggressive, progressive braking there. So this has Brembo front caliper on it. As you can see, as I'll probably put some B-roll up here so you can check it out. 4-pot and twin disc. The feel is pretty good. There's plenty of stopping power on this like 480-pound machine. Plenty of stopping power. It doesn't have the bite up top that a modern radial Brembo master cylinder would have, but it's very progressive. So if you're used to like a really quick bite, like on the Speed and Street Triples, things like that, where it's just grabbing right away, this isn't going to give you that. But here, I'll show it again here at the stop sign. I'll scare this lady, but in this car. Okay, so we're doing like 40. And yeah, it's really good. The back brakes are quite good as well. I do like the feel of the back brake. The back brakes are not wooden feeling. You know, some back brakes, like, let's see, what was the most wooden back brake? Well, that Speed Triple, the 19, I probably needed to be bled. But that had pretty wooden back brakes where you've got, like, nothing, locked up tire. Whereas this is, like, very progressive back brakes, too, so you can use it for trail braking, coming to a stop at a stop sign nice and smoothly, things like that you use your back brake for. And just bouncing the bike, things like that. Coming down from sweet wheelies. So yeah, the brakes are quite good on this machine. I enjoy them. They don't have the super tight, quick bite on the top. The front one doesn't anyway like a modern Brembo system. But I'm totally fine with that. This bike, for the kind of retro cruiser this is, I think these brakes are wholly appropriate, and I wouldn't change anything. Oh, also, these brakes have steel braided brake lines on front and rear from the factory. Cool addition there, BMW. I do appreciate it. And that does help with feel as well. All right. We'll talk about the ease of maintenance next here. And yeah, so the maintenance on this guy, there's no chain, there's no belt. This is a shaft drive motorcycle. As anybody who's, you know, ridden the box sprint or research them at all knows, these have been shaft drive for a very long time. So you've got a no chain maintenance adjustment to do and no belts to change, which is pretty sweet, I think, if you're into low maintenance. Also, the clutch on this is a dry clutch, single plate. This is the oil-cooled version of the Boxer and the R9T. Some of the GSs have water-cooled things, versions. And yeah, so There is the type of oil you can use in this, I believe, there's also a wider variety of oil you can use in this, since you don't have to worry about using car oil that will make the clutch slip and do funny things to motorcycle clutches. The clutch here doesn't have any oil in it, it's dry. So you have more options for oil if you so desire. A lot of people just run the BMW oil with this. That's recommended. Or Rotilla. I've been putting some AMSOIL 15W50 in this. This is 15W50 is what they recommend for this motor. Well, depending on your climate, and you can change things if you're in super cold or super hot weather. So yeah, the ease of maintenance on this is except for, with the exception of the battery. The battery is under the tank here, so it's not just pop your seat off and change the battery like in most Japanese motorcycles, like the MT series, things like that, or even the speed triples where the battery is under the seat. That is not the case with this. So thankfully, I think the stock battery in this is quite good. I believe they put an AGM battery, as far as I know, so those can last up to, you know, like 5 years. So that's not bad. But yeah, just be aware that the battery is not easy as easy to change on this as it would be on another bike. So the rest of the maintenance is easy. Also, when you do need a clutch on this, you got to split the bike in half. So half front to back to get to that single plate clutch. From what I've seen online, so I checked that out. So the good news is these clutches generally, unless you burn the crap out of them, last a really long time. Some people go 100,000 miles in these clutches or something like that. So yeah, just be aware of that. But otherwise, as far as general everyday maintenance, it is quite easy. Also, the valve cover, the valve covers are obviously super easily accessible because they are right there, right? And you don't need to take off a bunch of stuff to get your valve clearance checked. Just take off the side covers, boom, you're right there. Nice and easy. It's like a few bolts, get your field gauges out, and then when you need to adjust it, you don't need to shiv anything. It's just a screw, just an adjustment screw to adjust your valves. So that's freaking sweet, as far as I'm concerned. So the valve maintenance is also quite easy on this. So yeah, as far as general maintenance, like that you would do often, the only thing that is a pain in the butt is the battery. But everything else is nice and easy. Alright, let's talk about the handling. I love the handling of this motorcycle. I know it might be a strange thing to say. It's a 480-pound boxer twin. How do you love the handling? You got sport bikes, right? Well, it's pretty good. It feels, like I've said before in this channel, it feels like you're riding a pendulum. So the weight's all down low because that's where the motor is. The motor is a big 1200, or it's 1170cc boxer. So the motor's all down below. And the handling is super cool. It feels very different to having a regular vertical motor where the weight's kind of up top as well, and it's the weight's more vertical, right? And there's more stuff up top. The weight's all down below, which lends itself to slow speed maneuvers really well. It's like doing U-turns on this is extremely confidence inspiring. Like you're not gonna drop the bike. It's just you can do a U-turn at this, 2 miles an hour. And this thing just keep itself upright. It's just really, really nice. Very confidence inspiring for even a newer rider. Not that a newer rider should be going out and getting a 1200cc motor, but if you're a newer rider, maybe it's your second bike or something, and you're not quite, you're not quite comfortable with your U-turns and stuff completely yet, this bike isn't going to scare you to do your slow speed maneuvers. So I really enjoy doing slow speed maneuvers on this. As a side note, I'm going to be getting a Supermoto to practice my slow speed stuff more and really get some parking lot action going on, like MotoJitsu tells you to, because on a big expensive motorcycle like this, I really don't want to drop it. So doing excessive or really risky maneuvers with this at low speed, I just don't want to drop the bike. So if you're going to do that with these, you can get crash cages or the crash bars around the outside of the cylinders. You can have at it if you want to do that. So that's cool too. But I absolutely love the handling of this. This is the lightest, as far as I know, this is the lightest boxer machine that you can buy. So it's the most stripped down boxer motor, or most stripped down platform as far as the boxer motor goes. So this is about 487 pounds, something like that. You could maybe lose a little bit if you switch your exhaust out, do a little modification if you so desire. But it's pretty light, as opposed to the big heavy touring versions of this bike that are also water cooled, which adds more weight because of the radiator and the fluid in the radiator, of course, will add weight as well. So this oil-cooled version is lighter, and that's what I was looking for. I was looking for a fun, light machine in the boxer platform, since we had the R1150R in the channel here, and I really enjoyed that machine, but it didn't have a lot of guts, and it was kind of, I don't know, kind of a little unwieldy. It was really fun in the corners, to be honest with you. That machine was too, so I wanted to try this out, something a little bit lighter and more modern. So there's more, this has more power than the old R1150R does. It's a little bigger displacement, and it's been updated, so it's got more power. And yeah, the punch on this is greatly increased from the R1150R platform, if you guys are wondering. So I'll put a link to that video here as well. That video did been doing really well on this channel for quite a while since we've had it out. So we're going to head down the next section here, and we're going to be getting to the cons pretty soon. I think we got one more pro to talk about here. Alright, talk about the tires next. So this has Michelin Road 5s on it, and they're the stock tires, and I am quite impressed. That rev limiter comes on much sooner than I'm used to. We'll talk about that in the con section. So the Michelin tires on this are quite impressive. I really like them. They are, I think we got about 2,000 miles of this bike now, so they're wearing quite well. Make sure the pressures are correct on these. I think I run around 34, 35 pounds of pressure in the front rear, something like that. I don't like to go full hard, and I don't like to go into 30 because if you want extra grip, you can go into 30, but if you don't want to wear your tire up too much earlier, it gets kind of weird, strange wear in your tires. Maybe just keep like 32 or above in your tires, 33 and above, something like that. So yeah, I really like these tires. They feel good. The Road series from Michelin is really well known as a good bad weather tire, a good rain tire. And I've had the same experience. They're very good in the rain. They're good in poor weather conditions, and they're giving me plenty of grip on the side of the tire when I'm up in Wildcat. I've hit Wildcat pretty hard in this machine, and I mean, not like mega aggressive, because I don't want to trash this thing, but hard enough for me, as hard as I would want to ride this on a really twisty road. And it was a huge amount of fun. The tire never broke loose, never felt like it was getting goofy on me. The way it deals with gravel is pretty good. The way the bike is heavy also, so I'm sure that helps. But when you go over gravel and stuff, it just kicks it out of the way. It's not unsure feeling like when you're on the street on the Rasa Corsa 4s. You hit some gravel and you get squirrely, and it's just like it's all upset. This bike does not do that, at least not on a reasonable amount of gravel. If you're on a ton of gravel or gravel road, yeah, you're gonna get a little goofy, of course. But that's to be expected. So I really do think these are a good set of tires, and if I were going to go to replace these, although I'm probably not going to keep this bike long enough to need new tires, that's how it ends up being on this channel, I think that I would probably put the exact same tires on this again, or maybe go like Road 6s or something like that, look around, but I would definitely stick with the Michelin Road series. The handling is good, they're quite comfortable to ride on, never given me any problems at all, and yeah, it's just, I think I'm going to probably be getting away from Pirellis. I've had a couple of, maybe it's just bad experiences of my own. Maybe it's not has nothing to do with the tire, but I've had a couple leaks. So I've got a new Corsa 4 I just put on my street, and it's leaking again. So I don't think I picked anything up. So maybe it's just it was poorly seated when it was put on. Could be valve stems. We'll see what it is. I don't want to blame the tire too prematurely, but I've never had a problem with Michelin tires. So I think that I may, or even like for aggressive stuff like the Power GP or the Cup Series tires and the Michelins, I've got friends that absolutely love those things. So if I was going to be doing a lot of track days, I'd probably start looking into those. Alright, let's get into the cons here. Oh no! This is a pretty good machine, but there are some cons, as with everything. So the first thing is the seat. The stock seat on this machine is a bit thin. It's not bad for, you're going to go riding for an hour or two or something, it's not bad, but it's a bit thin. And I know there's aftermarket top out here, but let's talk about the bike in the stock form, right? So the seat is a bit thin, and it kind of hits me at a weird spot, like my hip bones kind of hits, that's just me, but it kind of hits me at a goofy spot. So like when I scoot around here, it's like, it's a very strange sensation. When you're in the corners, it's like a little too wide or fat, like maybe the front of it or something, it kind of hits me at a weird spot. It could be the tank too, but like the bike's a bit wide for hanging off. But then when you're going long distances, it feels a bit too thin, like my butt bones are like right on the edge of the seat or something. Kind of strange, right? It's a very strange conundrum. So yeah, the way it feels over a couple hours, you start kind of getting your butt gets a bit sore, and it's not terrible. It's not like you're riding a dual sport or something, but it's not amazing, right? So as far as the ergos go, like I talked about earlier, there's a bit of a con for me. I get a dog chasing us on the other side of the fence. Yeah, it's a bit of a con for me because the way that the rider triangle, like, it puts my hips into a kind of a strange position, and it's not terrible. Like I used to get hip cramps on the speed triple, the 19 1050 that I had over long distances. That could also be rider error or body position error. Both of these things are possible. But it doesn't give me hip cramps or anything, but my hips kind of get tired over time because you're at this kind of weird angle where you're not really leaned over, and you're not totally straight up. You're kind of in between, which can be okay for some people, but for me it kind of like, I don't know, it just hits me strange. And it starts to kind of make my hips sore after longer rides. I've noticed I'll be like kind of a little bit sore the next day. But hey, you know, if you're looking for perfect extreme comfort, you got to look for something else too, as far as like, I mean, you might as well drive your car, but yeah, if you're looking for like absolute motorcycle comfort, then you're talking about like a Goldwing, or like I rode, was it last weekend, the friend of mine, Dan, that was down here, he did a shootout video together too, which might be up on the channel by now, depends on when I release that. But yeah, I rode his Kawasaki Concours, and that is like couch style, absolutely awesome comfort. We're gonna stop and get some gas here, and then we will continue on, I think. And guys, we were low here. Look at that, 2.7 gallons. We were almost empty. And you just, since there's no gas gauge on this, you gotta reset your mileage there. So those are at 103, now we're at 0. So we can know when we need to get gas again. Yeah, so that is the next con here, is there is no gas gauge on this machine, and also no tach, since this is purely referring to the pure version, no pun intended there. Maybe it was intended. So yeah, there's no gas gauge, no tach, and for some people that's fine. So what I do, like I said, at the gas station, is I reset the trip odometer so that I know once I'm at around 120 or something like that, depending on how I'm riding, 130 miles, it is time to go and get gas in this machine. And then you know, so you don't have to worry about it. There's also a gas light that comes on that actually tells you like how many miles you have left in the tank, which if it's telling me that, why not just have a gas gauge? Right? You can tell me how many miles I have left in the tank, just tell me the whole time. Why you not tell me, BMW? So yeah, that's a con. For some, it's not that big of a deal, and with the tach too, you kind of get used to where you are in the rev range, but that's the next con. So con number 3 here is this bike doesn't rev out like if you're used to sport bikes. This bike doesn't have it doesn't rev out with a ton of top end, so you're going to be bouncing off the rev limiter often when you first start riding this, just because you're used to hearing a bike scream, and this is a boxer swing. So the way it's designed, it's just part of the design. It doesn't scream, right? It just doesn't. So when you go up here and you're going to be you give her a crank, right? Some kind of a rush there or something, there's no, the rush is all down here, right? That's where the rush is. The rush is like right off idle and up to like 6,000 RPMs. But if you get up over 7 or something, I believe it's red line, what did it say on mine, like 7,700, I don't know, something like that. But which it's better than a Harley. So the V-twin Harleys that I had this has more top end than that, than those two. So that's cool. So it does have more top end than if you're used to riding Harleys. You'll have the opposite experience. You've got more top end on this and more juice too in a lot of cases, depending on what you're riding from their lineup. Unless you're riding to the water cooler from their lineup, which is some of the newer stuff. But yeah, just be aware that this bike does not rev out like a sport bike does. It just wasn't designed that way. Got a lot of trash on the road here. Oh, it's clip-ins. Gotta layer down. Yeah, so just be aware that if you get up there the rev range like this, you gotta shift. I just know that like the 65, 70 miles an hour is like the top of second now. I just know that from riding this bike for a while. And you just gotta get used to that when you've got no tap in this machine. Alright, the next con is the suspension on the pure version. Once again, this is a specifically referencing the pure version, is non-adjustable. So the front forks here come from the fact that they're non-adjustable. I believe there's caps you can change on this machine. You can see right there, I'll look down, right there. You can change out those caps and you can get preload adjustment. There's some form of preload adjustment in the front. The rear is preload adjustable only, the rear shock, but it's hand adjustable, which is really nice. I wish more manufacturers would do that. So you can hand adjust the rear to, if you're going somewhere, you take a passenger or something, you can have it set to your weight, like approximately or whatever, if you know your sag and stuff, get your sag checked or use a mow tool, set for yourself, and then you can adjust it up a bit for when you take your pillion. So it's pretty cool. I do like that. Maybe going on a trip and you take an extra beer or something and you've got hard bags full of stuff, you can adjust your fill it up by hand. So that's pretty awesome. I do like that. But the rear shock is otherwise non-adjustable, so it doesn't have rebound or compression near this in front. So just be aware of that. If you want those things, you would have to go for the nineT Classic, the normal version, if you want the full adjustments. But on the pure, less expensive version, it does not have that. But that being said, I do like the suspension. The suspension is perfectly fine. I really don't have any issues with it. Even pushing it on a Wildcat, it doesn't wallow or anything like that on the corners, and it's not overly stiff. I for my purposes and how hard I ride, this is perfectly fine for me. Now, if you're like a true stud on the track or something, you're probably going to want the fully adjustable version. So I would just go for the classic version if you're going to be doing that kind of stuff. All right, the next con is taking off the seat on this thing. So in order to, why would you have to do that, you might ask? Okay, well, the tools are under the driver's seat, and this machine, in order to add oil, see if you can see it over here, by my knee, see that right there? Hopefully you can see that. That is the oil add right there on the right cylinder, right on top of the top back portion of the cylinder, and that requires a special tool. So that tool is the handle of the screwdriver is in that shape. It's underneath the seat. So you have to do that. Now, well, it just pops off, right? No, this one doesn't. You have to get, which is not that big of a deal, but you have to get either an Allen wrench or a hex, like a socket hex head, and put it under the passenger seat, unscrew that, comes off, then you can take off the driver's seat. Well, that's fine, unless you're somewhere where you don't have any tools, because there's no storage in this bike at all, right? And where you're going to put the tool to take off your rear seat, if you're at a gas station, you find out your oil is low, right? And you want to add a little bit of oil, well, that's pretty tough. So you could carry a little tool with yourself, like I would recommend you throw an Allen key of the correct size for the rear seat in your pocket. That way there's a little tiny bit of room in there, so you could like store your license and registration for the bike, or registration and insurance, sorry. And yeah, maybe some other little extra tools or something if you want to. But you can throw the Allen key in your pocket, so that's what I'm going to start doing. So yeah, just be aware that it's not easily accessible. It's not, well, it's easily accessible. It's not readily accessible. You need a tool to do it, right? And getting the seat back on, you can look it up on YouTube if you want to too, but it's not as self-explanatory either. It's pretty easy to get it back on, but it can be kind of deceiving. I thought it's supposed to pop in, but apparently the rider seat does not actually pop in. It friction fits in, and there's a little piece yeah, there's a little piece that goes up and down in the back of the driver's seat. We'll see if we can find a picture online, or maybe I'll have to video or something for you. And yeah, so that fits into the little spot, and you got to get that down low enough, and then you put the back seat back on, screws down, and it all holds itself back together, and all friction fits and such. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird situation. So that's just a con. Not the worst thing in the world. I'm starting to kind of nitpick, but that's okay. All right, I think this is probably the final con, unless I think of something else, or I get my list turned back on here because my phone had turned itself off, as phones tend to do. Some of these motors burn oil when they're early in their life. Like this bike is under 2,000 miles, and this bike burns some oil. It's not terrible. There's no leaks, obviously, it's brand new, but it just burns a little bit, so you got to make sure you check it. I would check your oil every, like, 500 miles, 400 miles. Just take a look at it. And just what you should be checking your tire pressures too. So like when you check the tire pressures every week or two, depending on how much you're riding, check your oil. You might have to add a half a quart or something. And I've heard that that's how these are. So until they kind of get broken in a little more, it just is what it is. But just make sure that you know that even though this is a brand new machine, you do need to check the oil just in case it's consuming a little bit early on in its life. I've heard that actually goes away after a period of time, once everything is bedded in properly. But yeah, alright, so what are my final thoughts on this? Well, we're hitting just some light twisties back here, and it is just a blast. This machine is way more fun than it has any right to be on back roads. It's just a cool retro cruising back roads carver machine, and I have a lot of fun on this. I thought it'd be cool. Like, I took the test ride, and I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be a cool bike. We'll make some cool content with it. I got it for a good deal, and man, I really enjoy this thing. I think my favorite types of motors after riding a bunch of different bikes here on the channel, from Hayabusas, the S1000Rs, the triple stuff, right? Yeah, just Harley, all kinds of stuff we've had on the channel here, including that dual sport we just rode. Thanks to that Toma Area Power Sport, they've been having me do some rides on their brand new machines. It's pretty awesome. So I'll put a link or a card to that KLX 300 dual sport review. But yeah, my favorite kind of motors, I think, are boxer twins and triples. So the next thing we're going to be getting on the channel here is probably an XSR 900, and we'll be doing a shoot up with the Speed Triple. I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, those are my favorite two types of motors, and I really enjoy these boxer twins. They have the perfect amount of torque for the road, for going through trashed out corners. Like, look at the trash here. Yeah, but this bike doesn't even care. You hit that gravel, you probably might have heard it in the camera on the microphone, and this bike does not care at all. These combination of the weight of this bike and these tires, it handles gravel super well. We'll hit some here. Oh yeah, there's just no problems at all. Good time, my guys. It is a good time. Yeah, I think this is a really cool machine. If you guys get a chance to ride a boxer twin, you should definitely take it on a test ride or a friend or something like that. It's a very different experience. I had a friend ride this who rides a Gixxer K6 1000 GSXR. Skyler, he's been on the channel before. He's on the R1 video, R1 versus GSXR video, and he said, what did he say? Riding this is like it felt like riding a motorcycle on the moon with a bunch of traction or something. It feels so different from the sport bike that he's always on, and just be aware that is the case. If you guys are looking at buying one of these and you haven't been on a boxer twin, they are very different, but I think you'll have a ton of fun. It's such a different experience to riding a sport bike. And this is so confidence inspiring in the corners. It's hard to describe that, of course, over a review, but it's so fun to like lean this, the way it leans over and it carries its weight through a corner like this. It's just so fun. And part of these are pretty reliable too, from what I've heard. I've never taken one of these to high mileage. I did have the R1150R we had in the channel was higher mileage. I think that was like around 30,000. 20 to 30, something like that. But that's not even the hardcore BMW guys don't even consider that high mileage. I mean, they consider high mileage like, you know, over 100,000 or something, or maybe 60, 70, 80,000. So yeah, this is they're pretty reliable too. I should have put that in the pros, but as far as reputation goes, they fixed a lot of the shaft drive and seal issues and things that they had earlier on in these boxes twins. Apparently it's all been taken care of now. So I wouldn't worry about reliability on these really. And this is starting to warranty, this one, as of this moment anyway, because it's so new. It's a 22. But yes, pretty I really do enjoy this machine. It's something that I could live with for like long term. Like I could buy, like, let's say I probably won't keep this long term because of the cost of it. I mean, what I paid for it. I don't know if I want that much money tied up in this bike long term. But if I could find a inexpensive boxer twin, maybe around $3-4 grand, and it's in good shape and well taken care of, I could probably just keep that stable just to have one. Maybe like an R1200R or like a 1150R, something like that. And it's just the amenities on this. I mean, this newer one though, you got cruise, you got heated grips, so nice. A lot of the older ones have heated grips too. But when it gets cooler out now in the fall, if you ride early spring, or if you're in an area where you can ride the winter, heated grips are an absolute godsend. So I really do enjoy that about these BMW machines too. They have that extra amenity that a lot of bikes you have to add aftermarket, but these come with them stock, and they're pretty reliable. And boy, these things heat up like a beast. I was out the other night, it was like 50 degrees or something, so I turned the heaters on. Holy cow, melt your hands off. Like they are no joke with how much heat they put out. So, in conclusion here, this is a fun, torquey machine that is a total blast to ride on back roads, and that has a really interesting handling characteristic that I personally enjoy. Maybe some people don't, but I really enjoy the handling of these machines. It doesn't wallow in the corners. It's supple enough over bumps. Cool. There's some niggles in the con section, of course, like there is with anything. Some things that you dislike. But yeah, it's a cool machine. Got cool heritage. They've been around and making these things, box twins, for like 90 years or something like that. And I guess we'll end here with who is this bike for? That's what we talk about on this channel here from time to time. Who is this bike for? Well, I think that this machine is for somebody who really wants that retro look. Like this is a cool looking retro bike. And do looks matter in a motorcycle? It depends on who you are. I think you buy a bike for you. You don't buy it for like other people, because I mean, you're going to ride by other people for 5 seconds and they're going to be gone. So you buy something that you want to ride, that inspires you, that you think is cool, that you want to do the work of maintaining and riding and have a blast on it. I think this bike is a good back. Somebody who wants like a heavy, more stable bike, like a 480, 500-pound bike. This is under 500. But you still want to hit some back roads. You maybe want to take a pillion once in a while. It's not super comfortable for a pillion, but it's okay, and it's got plenty of power to pull you both around. It's definitely a cool retro sporty cruiser. I think it falls in that category well. And you also don't want to have a lot of maintenance, so you're tired of doing chain maintenance or belt maintenance, or you just don't want to. This is a good solution for that, because this is, of course, the shaft drive that we talked about earlier. So this is somebody who wants like a retro sporty cruiser that doesn't want to do a bunch of maintenance on the bike all the time with the chain and things like that. And maybe you want a more low-end torque rather than all the screaming top end. You're not like a sport bike screamer motor kind of bro or lady, and you want something with more low-end power and that kind of stuff, that kind of torquey feel. This will get you that. I think that's who this bike is for. They can be had on the used market, the R9Ts, for I would say 6 to 7 on the lower end as far as the pure stuff. If you're buying off season, you could probably, I don't think you're going to find one under 6. It'd be pretty tough. You can find boxing motors and other stuff cheap, way cheaper than that. If you're looking at like the, you know, the older stuff like R1150Rs, R1100s, R1200s, older, you can get them under $5. But if you're looking for an nineT specifically like this, like the pure version, you can get them like probably 7 to 8 would be a reasonable price point to be looking at. So I think we better wrap this up because this has been a longer review than I thought, but these pros and cons ride reviews are usually pretty in-depth, so I was expecting to have a 30-minute video or so, probably. Something to that effect I'm imagining this will be at. Alright, if you guys enjoy this content, make sure you like and subscribe, and if you made it this far, you guys are the full video bros here, or bros and ladies, but you are definitely watching the whole thing, and I appreciate that. Hope you guys are doing well. The channel is growing here every day, just about, so we are getting new subscribers, and yeah, make sure you subscribe if you like this content, and hit like too. It always helps the algorithm, and be on the lookout for more new bike first rides too with the Toma Area Power Sport dealership here in town. I appreciate those guys, good group of people over there, and we're going to be working with them here through the fall season, and probably putting videos with them out maybe through the winter as well, if we get a lot of content. So, all right, we will see you guys in the next one.